Once a year, a man came up into the Alps. He came to count. The farmers greeted him, fed him, let him work, and the moment he was gone, they did something he was never meant to see. This is the story of Reb Blochon. To understand what they did, you have to understand what he came to count, and why, in these mountains, milk was never only milk. It was rent. 700 years ago, in the valleys of Thônes, a cow was a bill you could not argue with. Most mountain farmers did not own the pastures they used. The high grazing belonged to nobles and to monasteries. For the right to use it, the farmer owed a levy. In Savoy, it was called the droit de siège. It was collected once a year, and it was not a fixed sum. It was calculated on how much milk the herd gave in a single day. From that one number, the landowner worked out the butter and cheese he was owed. So once a year, his man climbed to the pasture, stood in the stable, and watched the cows being milked. One day, one measurement, one number that set the whole year. So the farmers gave him a number. They simply made sure it was the wrong one. While the inspector watched, they did not empty the udder. They stopped short. The pots came up light. The record came up low, and the levy came up with it. Then the inspector went back down the mountain, and after dark, the farmer went back to the stable. In the Savoyard dialect, there was a word for what he did next. Blocher, to pinch the cow's udder. Reblocher, to pinch it again. The fraud itself had a name. They called it la rebloche, and that is the name of the cheese. Here is where the fraud turns into something else. That second milk was not the same milk. Milk does not leave a cow evenly. The fat comes last. So, the milk they held back, the milk they hid, was the richest the animal had. They were not trying to make better cheese. They were trying to pay less rent. But hidden milk is milk you cannot sell, cannot deliver, cannot explain. It had to disappear, so they turned it into cheese. At night, in small wheels, for their own families. And the cheese was extraordinary. A ripe Reb Blochon gives under the thumb like something alive. The rind is thin, orange gold, dusted with a fine white bloom, and it smells of the cellar it came from. Damp stone, wet straw, a farmyard on a warm afternoon. Cut it, and none of that follows through. The paste is ivory and supple with cream and a quiet note of hazelnut. 18 days is the legal minimum in the cellar. Most never see 40, and the milk is raw. It is never heated past body temperature, which is why you cannot legally buy it in the United States. American law demands 60 days of aging for any raw milk cheese. Reb Blochon never gets there. It was never meant to. Today the name is protected. It can only be made in the mountains of Haute-Savoie and one valley in Savoie, from 3 breeds, Abondance, Montbéliard, and Tarine. And there is a detail almost nobody notices. Look at the rind. Pressed into it is a small casein disc. Red means dairy made, milk collected from several farms. Green means it was made on the farm itself, twice a day, from a single herd. The milk is still warm from the animal and has never been cooled. Same name, same protection, not the same cheese. Around 100 farms still make the green one. One more thing. If you know Reb Blochon at all, you probably know it melted over potatoes, bacon, and onion. Tartiflette, the great traditional dish of the Alps, except it isn't traditional in the way most people think. Tartiflette appeared on ski resort menus in the 1980s. It was adapted from an older Savoyard dish called pella, and it was pushed hard by the Reb Blochon producers themselves. By their own account, the goal was to move cheese they had too much of. It worked. In 1900, barely 40 tons of Reb Blochon were made a year. Today it is close to 15,000. The cheese born from one deception spent the 20th century quietly running another. Some things run in the family. If you want to find out how much you actually know about European cheese, there's a quiz at cheeseheaventv.com. Most people don't get half. Subscribe Cheese Heaven TV.